Hello, Andrew P.
Good evening. Happy Saturday evening to you, Docs. How you doing?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Good. Did you do anything fun so far today? Or
I went for a run, went to the grocery store, ran some errands. I got a lot of stuff done today. I planned out my next three photo shoots, got them pretty dialed in, which I feel good about.
nice.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
not
went
bad.
I went and did some casino walking today.
Yeah,
I've told you about this before, I think, but some people go mall walking, to get their steps when it's hot outside.
yeah.
I started a couple months ago going casino walking, and let me tell you right now, like I got multiple casinos around me up here, and casino walking is so much better than mall walking. Like
Not bad.
the people watching, like I could walk around in there for hours and never get bored. I play a game where the people that are on like oxygen, where they got the oxygen tube in their nose and they have like a dolly they pull around with
Yeah, and they're
oxygen.
smoking a cigarette the whole time.
I count how many people I see pulling a dolly of oxygen while smoking a cigarette, and it's
Yeah,
always
yeah.
it's always like at least 15 people in the casino doing that. So it's my favorite way to walk. So I did that today, and then I went over and had dinner with friends. Had drinks again. We played Taboo, guys versus girls, which always ends in a fight. And then oh yeah,
Sounds fun.
you were there for like the game that ended with pieces being thrown across the living room and people
Oh
taking
yeah.
their shirts
Yeah, that was a
off.
good
So
time. That was
yeah,
definitely a good time.
you know about this, and then yeah, I got to hang out with a guy that was a former state congressman and is a current congressman in one of the Indian nations up here. So we
Okay.
got to talk a little, and he's a Democrat. So I found like a white male that's like my age and a Democrat in this red state. It was very odd.
Hmm.
It was like finding my soulmate. So I was very happy to
Oh,
meet him. I hope I get to spend more time with that guy. So
how did that go? What did he have to say?
it was good. Like I was dancing around at first because in Oklahoma, like if you even start to talk politics, you have to like kind of ease in there because you don't know you assume everybody's leaning right. So
Yeah.
I was kind of easing it in there. And then finally I said something somewhat negative about Trump. And I can't remember how he said it, but he basically said like, oh, you could say that a lot worse. Or he kind of enforced what I said. And my eyes lit up. I was like, I think I'm in love with you. This is great. So I've been
Nice.
drinking and I'm going to continue drinking.
Oh,
So
good for you.
hope you're okay with that.
What are you sipping on?
That's my new favorite whiskey. It's an Irish whiskey. It's a Redbreast Lestow.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Some good
Okay.
shit.
Okay.
So
Maybe we can get them as a sponsor.
I would love that.
Oh, we're
I'll,
on Spotify now, which is awesome.
dude, I used to laugh every time somebody would be like, "Don't forget to like and subscribe," and I would be like, "I'm not fucking liking and subscribing." Like that was my general mindset. And now, like the couple people that listen to our thing, like I catch myself being like, "Hey, if you don't mind, be sure to subscribe." Like I feel so
Yeah.
stupid every time I say it. So tonight,
Like and subscribe.
dude, I told a table full of people tonight. I was like, if you happen to listen, be sure and subscribe. And like as I said it, I felt stupid. I was like, anyhow, I'm very excited to be on Spotify now, though, so
Yeah,
people can listen while they work out or something. So
exactly. Exactly.
hmm, that's perfect. So real quick, Saturday night, I was out having family fun, and I get home and Hezbollah is striking back at Israel right now, revenge for the killing of their leader a couple of weeks ago, which
Yeah,
I thought it would have happened by now, but it appears there, hundreds of rockets flying from Lebanon into Israel. It just started. Normally, when this happens, it's like, oh, hundreds of rockets, but then it turns out the Iron Dome intercepts most of them, and the ones they don't land in like not civilian areas. But we'll see what happens. In the morning, we'll get a picture of if there was damage or not.
didn't Trump just talk to Netanyahu or
That was a couple of weeks ago when Netanyahu came here and met with Biden and Harris in the White House, and
no, no,
then
no. There's like a leaked phone call, like a more recent thing.
there was a lady at like the last night of the DNC, a lady that works for PBS, and she said that Trump has told Netanyahu not to do a peace deal. Kind of like,
Yeah,
Trump killed the border deal because it would have hurt like a good election item for him.
for
So she
sure.
said that, and somebody reported it to the DOJ, and they were requesting an investigation. And that lady came back like 2 days later and was like, "Whoa, like I don't really have any sources on that. I was just like she kind of backed off it." So it
Okay.
appears she might have. But I know that like CNN, Fox, MSNBC, like I kind of expect a level of them kind of winging it, but like PBS, I always thought was more like they follow some
Yeah.
standard practices, but she apparently just was talking out of her ass. So
Oh, that's kind of weird.
yeah, so
That's a little odd, but
anyhow,
huh.
Israel is again something to keep your eye on, but right now, I It's gotten so routine where Israel bombs, Hezbollah shoots rockets back into Israel. It's kind of a weekly thing. So we'll
Yeah,
at some point World War III could start over there, but I don't think I think I'll say this. I think it's much more likely that World War III starts because of Israel than because of Ukraine. That's
yeah.
my
Oh
own
yeah,
thing. But if it's gonna pop off, it's gonna be a Middle East pop off. That's just kind of my thoughts on it. But
yeah. I think you're right. I think you're
yeah.
right. Yeah,
But real quick, talking about night four of the DNC, it's been a couple days. It's been 2 days, but we talked after day three. We
yeah,
had the Obamas on the second night. The best orators politically of our lifetime, probably.
yeah. Let me
Um,
ask you something real quick.
okay,
How does it feel to be a liberal now?
I'm not a liberal. I refuse to let you call me that. Even today, like I was getting along so well with this political guy I was hanging out with tonight, and
Yeah.
at one point he was like, "Yeah, my wife's kind of a Republican," and I was like, "I'm a lifelong Republican," and I could see a moment where his face kind of is sad, and I was like, "No, no, no, like I'm an independent, like I'm trying to place myself right now because
No, you're a liberal, dude.
I'll say this, I want to be an independent. Like that I think the greatest thing that could happen, like I would like for Trump to lose this time, but if Harris beats Trump 280 electoral votes to whatever 250, if it's a tight one, then Trump maintains his hold on the Republican Party. And even if he's not the nominee in 4 years, he'll be the kingmaker. It'll be MAGA still.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
need I need Harris to blow him out, which it's going to be
Okay.
tough. I think that's almost impossible right now.
Uh-huh.
But it would the best thing in my mind that could happen is Harris just wins in a landslide so bad that Trump is then forced to give up control of the Republican Party, and we get back to having a sane Republican Party and a sane Democratic
So
Party.
you're going to vote for JD Vance as president now?
No,
Okay.
and JD Vance would
Uh,
be he would be part of the crew that leaves when Trump leaves.
maybe.
Again, it would take a blowout, but in a perfect
Marjorie
world,
Taylor Greene. You're going to vote for Marjorie Taylor Greene. Matt
again,
Gaetz.
in this world, the MAGA people
Who
are
are you
gone.
going to vote for in the Republican Party? There's nobody.
So the ones that I would have voted for are like Ben Sass from Nebraska, who I thought was a great, very sensible Republican. He got booted out because he didn't kiss Trump's ass.
What was
Liz
sensible?
Cheney, I don't align with Liz Cheney on a lot, but I think she is not evil or wants to overthrow democracy. So I would. There are some out there that Adam Kinzinger from Michigan, like he got run out, but all the good ones got run out by Trump. So
What's sensible about Adam Kinzinger or um, Ben Sass?
they were the very moderate Republicans, and when it came to like fiscal stuff, they were more Republican, but they were socially liberal,
You
which
mean
that's
spending
that's
more
my
money
lane.
than the Republicans and bring up the deficit
Nope,
more and like
they talked a
hurting the
lot about
economy more?
lowering the debt. They talked about lowering the debt, and of course,
Talking and doing isn't the same thing, Andy.
they
Republicans
never got
don't lower the debt.
nobody lowers the debt, and like we talked about it last time, but nobody's even talking about it. Trump hasn't mentioned it. Kamala hasn't mentioned
Clinton.
it.
Was
Nobody
Clinton the
gives up.
last one?
Clinton was the last one to have a balanced budget.
Balanced. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but they used to at least claim that they like that was always a staple of a Republican running for president was that they're going to balance the budget and start to pay down the debt. And this time, Trump ain't even mentioning it. So,
Well,
anyhow,
that's why Trump got in like into the Republican Party is because he realized that he could say anything he wanted to the Republicans and get elected. Like he could
so
just blow smoke up everybody's ass and get elected because the
there,
Republicans have been doing it for decades.
there's a clip of him saying that. I think to Oprah or somebody. He was on any. This was I think in the late '90s, and he was like, "Oh, if I was going to run, I'd run as a Republican because they'll believe anything you say." And he totally called it.
Okay.
Like I think that they should show that clip all the time.
Yeah.
Uh, but we'll get to Trump in a minute. There's some fun Trump RFK stuff. Real quick, on night four of the DNC, we had even Republicans are saying that this DNC overall was a great success. I mean, they
Yeah.
ran a good convention. I think that in 4 years when we have the next conventions, they're both going to be totally different. The roll call is going to be a musical thing. Like I think
Yeah.
this kind of reset the way conventions are going to go.
I think you're right. Yeah.
The one thing that irritates me and Fox News, there's nothing you can do about that. But Fox Jeff Duncan, the former lieutenant governor of Georgia, gave some pretty good speeches where they were basically telling Republicans like me, like moderate Republicans, like it's okay to vote for Kamala this time. Trump is dangerous. Like that was the
Wait, you're a
theme of.
moderate Republican or you're an independent?
I was a moderate Republican, so don't try to pin me down because I don't know
I'm,
where I'm
I'm,
at.
I'm
But
trying to figure out where you're
but
at, Andy.
every time one of the Republicans spoke, they did not air that on Fox. They pulled away and had their little studio panel. So to all the people, like I think that there were some Fox viewers that should have seen those speeches, and Fox totally did not show those. And I've said it all the time. Every news station gets caught, I don't want to say lying, but caught being too bombastic with their rhetoric is what I would say. Because you got people up there just talking and trying to scare everybody. But Fox does this thing where they do lying through omission, where like Trump will do some stupid shit, and if I talk to a Fox News Republican, they'll be like, "Oh, you're making that up. That never happened." And it's like, no, it happened. And I couldn't figure out forever why they didn't know about this. But Fox just, if Trump says something stupid, they don't cover it. They don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Like all the Trump scandals, they just breeze right past that and tell you the good things he did.
They've been cutting away from his speeches. Like once he starts going on these
Yeah.
rants, they just like, okay, and blah blah blah. And did you see he was on a like telephone interview and he just kept going and going.
Dude,
And they were
so
like, dude, we gotta go. And like, they finally cut him off.
we've talked about it before, but I love to watch the different news stations. So watching night 4 of the DNC, I was watching Fox News to watch that, and I had two TVs on in front of me, so I had CNN on one and Fox on the other. But I was listening to the audio on Fox, and as soon as it was Kamala gave a good speech. Her speech was aimed at people like me, like disaffected Republicans that are kind of in the middle now. Like a couple different people said it, but her speech could have been the John McCain 2008 Republican speech. Like it was kind of war hawkish. It was, we're going to stand up for our allies. We're going to have a strong military. Like it was aimed at me exactly. Like I used to be a Republican and now I'm not sure. She wasn't aiming for the far left. Like she's hoping that they're going to come along. The only complaint I saw to Democrats were people that were far left that were basically saying, she tried to both sides Israel and Palestine.
Yeah, dude.
I thought she did a masterful job of saying Israel can defend itself, but what's happening right now in Palestine is terrible. And
Yeah,
I
but she
thought she
basically said we're gonna support Israel no matter what.
and she said that they're going to try to get a ceasefire. She said above all else, and
They're
I
trying
fully
to get it
believe
right
they're.
now.
What's that?
They've been trying to get it for what, 6 months now?
Oh yeah, no, I fully believe they're putting all their effort into it. I think Netanyahu does not want a ceasefire, and he's
Yeah.
sabotaging the whole
Well,
thing. But
cut off aid to Israel. Cut off
again, I'm not there yet.
Stop giving them weapons to murder people. Like
Yeah.
that's the only way, like that's how you do it, right?
Okay. Well, Israel for another day, real quick. Well, you were talking about Kamala speaking, so I'm watching Fox News. Kamala gets done speaking. They cut right to the panel and they're saying like, that was a pretty good speech. Kamala did good, and then Trump's on the phone 5 seconds later, and Trump's rambling. And like I had a couple favorite parts, but at one part they were like, "Hey, she's having good success with the swing voters and suburban women," and he like cut him off and he goes, "No, she's not having success. I'm the one having success." And like
I've got black men, I've got the Hispanic vote.
yeah, their faces, like they were almost giggling at him, like with their looks. It was hysterical. But then they were trying to cut him off. They had a hard out. They had to be off the air at a certain time to go to Gutfeld. So they had a hard out. They're trying to get him off the phone. They almost ended up hanging up on him. Like he did at the end say, "Okay, thanks," and like they were able to be cordial. But so and then I'm looking at Twitter as I'm listening to Fox News, and somebody tweets. They're like, "Hey, Trump is on Newsmax now." So immediately I'm going to Newsmax, and like he's ranting and raving. And again, it was Mercedes Schlapp, who the Matt and Mercedes Schlapp is a Republican operative, like husband and wife combo that I'd love to talk about one day. I don't want to get into it now, but and again, they're kind of just letting him ramble and trying to jump in where they could and redirect him, and they couldn't. And then on top of that, after he gets done on Newsmax, he's sitting there and he's probably pissed. In his mind, and I'm putting myself in Trump's mind, Kamala just sat there and lied about him and said nasty things to him for the last 40 minutes. So he's pissed and he's trying to get it out there. But so he called into Gutfeld. I don't know if this clip's all over
No,
Twitter.
I didn't see this.
He called into Gutfeld, but he called Gutfeld's cell phone, which Gutfeld had it on him and like pulls it out. And he's like, well, it's fucking Donald Trump calling me. And he answers it on speakerphone. And like, he's laughing and the whole audience is laughing. Everybody there is laughing at Trump, and Trump is just rambling and rambling. And like, they're all just, it was embarrassing. If you're a Trump fan, to me, that was embarrassing. I don't think anything they see is gonna, in their mind, make Trump look bad. But like it was, and like Gutfeld ended up being like, "Sir, we're taping a show right now. We have to go," and like hung up on him. And yeah, it was quite hysterical. Like he was, but I'll say this: We talked about it the last time, but the Robert Kennedy dropping out, we have to see what it's going to do on the polling. But like they were smart to do it on that Friday because the I think the Democrats still have a ton of momentum coming out of their convention. Like Democrats are fired up right now. But what was starting to happen is the more that Democrats were getting fired up, it was demoralizing Republicans. Like I don't know if you talked to any Republicans like the week of the DNC, but it was grim. Like things were not looking good. Oh shit, like Trump really could lose. Like it's kind of where they were at. And then the next day, the RFK thing, if nothing else, if it doesn't achieve much polling wise, it re-fired up the Republicans to where like right now we have
But how
I'm telling
much?
you what
1%, 2% fired up? Like, I don't think it really
oh
did a lot.
so I read a great article on this, but like if you live on social media, if you live on Twitter or TikTok or something like that, like you everything you're seeing, you're like, oh my God, like the Republican base is jacked. Look at all these Kennedy supporters are going over to Trump. But like the article is fantastic, and I won't be able to word it the right way. But like Bill Burr said, have you ever heard Bill Burr's thing when it says like, oh, social media is mad at you, and Bill Burr's like, who? It's like 50 people. Like 50 people are
Yeah.
on Twitter causing a stink. Like it's not real. Like those
Yeah.
are such a small percentage of the people, and he's dead right. And then you start looking at it, it's like, okay, like let's say I've seen 50 people on Twitter tweeting about like how much like several of them are like, I'm an RFK fan and I'm sure as heck gonna vote for Trump now. Like go Trump. You like it's that's kind of the vibe you've been seeing, but it's like
Yeah.
Twitter is not real like that. If you only live on Twitter, you can really easily get into a trap of thinking that like, oh my God, look, like everybody's fired
Yeah.
up about this or that. But then go out to a supermarket or a mall and talk to people. Nobody knows what the fuck is going on.
No,
Like they're not living in that
absolutely.
world. So there is a lot of Twitter excitement right now. Uh, there's Nate Silver. Do you know the name Nate Silver?
I know the name. Yeah.
He does polling, and he was terribly off in 2016. I think he had Hillary up by like 9. I think
He
everybody
was the
messed that.
one.
It was everybody, but anytime you bring up Nate Silver because he's one of the more respected pollsters, somebody will always point and be like, "Oh, well, look how off he was in 2016." Well, everybody had that one wrong. Excuse me. But he did a poll where it was a poll that was taken before RFK was dropped out, but it had the question, if RFK drops out, who would you pick? So he put that poll out today. And in that poll, it helped both of them a little bit. Like the margin stayed the same. Kamala went up a little bit, RFK. So Democrats, I think, mistakenly are seeing that poll and saying, "Oh, look, RFK dropped out and it didn't affect the race at all." No, that question was if RFK is out of the race. RFK left and endorsed Trump and is coming. It's hysterical to me. His VP, I didn't know who his VP was till like a week before he dropped out, and then I couldn't stop seeing her. I saw her everywhere I went, and
Yeah.
she went on Adam Carolla's show on Thursday, the day before he dropped out, and she said, "Well, we're still thinking about it, but the only way we could possibly support Trump is if he apologizes for Operation Warp Speed and admits that the way he handled COVID was wrong, and like a couple demands like that." And immediately I was like, Trump does not admit that he was wrong about
Yeah.
anything. So that, in my
Yeah.
mind, I'm like, this is setting up a showdown. Like he needs RFK, but in order to get RFK, he has to admit that Operation Warp Speed was a mistake by him, which is not going to happen. So I
Yeah.
was very curious to see. And dude, the RFK campaign folded on that so quickly. On Thursday, that was a demand, and on Friday, they're on stage together, and he basically is just not. They're not going to bring up warp speed or COVID, and he's doing a thing, and it's a smart play. He's doing it on healthier foods, getting the PFAS and bad chemicals out of food. So something a lot
Okay.
of people can get
I'm all
behind.
for that. Yeah. Yeah.
He basically said, I'm going to abandon everything else, climate, vaccines, all that stuff, and like just focus on food. And also the other thing was free speech, which that's now Trump tried to do a lot when he was in office to kill free speech. He was trying to get
Yeah.
newspapers to give up their sources. I need to look more into it, but the social media, there's it's like Section 230 or some rule he wanted to repeal that a lot of people were saying that was attacking free speech. I don't know anything about that one. But I kind of laughed because the Republicans are like, the Democrats are against free speech. Oh, I think both parties are trying to make sure that only their message gets out. So you can say the Democrats are doing it. You can say the Republicans are doing it. Watch Fox News a little bit. They're controlling the message. Like the Republican Party is doing it as well. But that was his whole thing is he's going with Trump because he thinks Democrats are a risk to free speech, basically, and the food thing.
Huh.
So
Okay. All
so
right.
I think
I'm gonna test your podcasting skills, Andy. Can you speak to the audience for just a minute?
I don't want to.
I'll be right
I
back.
still I still think it's ridiculous. Okay, Docs is gone. If you're watching this show and you're doing anything in your life based off what we're saying, this is a bad move by your part. We don't know what we're talking about. I have no experience at all in any kind of politics. I watch the news all day long. I watch the news in YouTube, and then I kind of formulate an opinion based off all the different things I've seen, and it's probably not right. I was describing our podcast tonight to this guy, and I he asked what it was. He's like, I can't wait to listen. And I said, you probably shouldn't. Like, we don't know what we're talking about. So I feel like that's the Joe Rogan thing to say, don't listen to me. I'm just a podcaster. But I feel very strongly in that. So to the 10 to 20 people that watch this, do your own research and don't listen to what we're saying. So Docs is gone forever. Hey, thanks for
I'm
coming
back.
back, man. I made it like a minute and then it was over. So
Oh,
I did tell everybody that they probably shouldn't watch our podcast. It'd be
yeah,
smarter to watch anybody else talk
hit
politics.
like and subscribe.
Yeah, please. I hate that.
Sorry, I had to do a stretch and fold. It was that time.
Oh, you're doing sourdough tonight?
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't done sourdough in a couple weeks. Yeah, I'm gonna get on that. So anyhow, um, so RFK is out. It's gonna be 2 to 2.5 weeks until we see a real poll that shows what him dropping out and endorsing Trump has done. So any poll you see over the next couple weeks was like a hypothetical poll when he was still in the race. I don't know what goes into polling, but like when they release a poll, it'll say that it was done between this date and this date. And it's always released like a week to a week and a half after the polling time period. So apparently
Yeah.
there was a whole bunch of science and math that goes into putting all that together in the time after
Wait,
calculating things.
but don't
I
they
don't get
just
it.
like take? Don't
The
they just
poll
like
should be
ask people on the street? Like they go to like New York Times Square and just start asking people, "Hey, will you take this
they
poll?"
they call people, but they try to like if they call 2,000 people, they want supposedly in the poll they want it to be an accurate representation of the electorate. So
Yeah,
then they try to figure out we think that about 52% of the people that vote are going to be Democrats and 48% are going to be Republicans. And then they try to like get rid of the outliers, the extremes one way or another. There's a formula and I
yeah.
don't get it, but that takes a while. Like I used to think they call 1,000 people and it turns out 600 said this person and 400 said that person and that's the poll. But no, it's a lot more into it.
They just
So
need to get the people who voted for Obama and Trump.
well, there's like I said, there's a lady I listen to all the time, Sarah Longwell, and she does focus groups, and like she'll bring in only like those people that switch from Obama to Trump. She'll bring them in, and very interestingly, she finds
Oh,
out. So,
okay.
but the I'll say this: the thing that I think she had said this. There's a couple things like RFK specifically said on stage that one of the reasons he was backing Trump is because he's gonna basically end the war in Ukraine, and Trump has said that he's going to end it in within a day, and RFK even said that the other day. He'll end it on day one, and it's like, how? Like you can try to pressure Ukraine to go to the negotiating table, but that's not going to be done in a day at all.
Yeah.
Uh, the abandoning Ukraine thing for Republican Party's like half and half on this. Like half of them, the Lindsey Graham establishment type Republicans, want to help Ukraine. Like defeating Russia is in Republicans' blood. Like they're
Wait, Lindsey
very
Graham is on that side?
Lindsey Graham is a strong supporter of Ukraine. So
Oh,
Lindsey Graham and Joe Biden and John McCain, I think, used to go over to when they were all senators and stuff, used to go over to Ukraine all the time, and they were very,
oh, I had
instrumental.
Lindsey Graham at like a 2.
No,
Now I think I'll bump him up to like a 10 on a
he
scale of
if
1 to
Trump
100.
wins, if Trump
One to
wins,
100.
Lindsey Graham will spend a lot of time trying to convince Trump not to leave Ukraine, like not to leave them hanging.
Can you
Uh,
convince Trump of anything?
yeah, apparently there's a lot of the people that are coming out and speaking negatively about him. They're like we're in the White House working for him. Like the guy Gary Cohen that was like his economy guy, like said that like Trump would come up with crazy ideas and they would be like, okay, we'll get right on that, and then they just go and like throw it in the trash and be like, oh, he'll forget about it. He'll jump onto something else in a day or two. He wrote a book about it. Yeah, they used to do that all the
Okay.
time. Like there were certain things that needed to get to his desk to get signed, and they'd be like, no, just put it over here, and he'll never ask about it. Like he'll forget. So that was going on quite a bit.
Hmm.
But
I
no, the
also heard
Ukraine
that the last person he talked to was the most influential of what he was going to do.
I've accused you of that quite a bit. Like back in
Oh,
your 20s, it was like whoever Doskasil talked to last is where he's at mentally. Like
on
there,
politics?
dude, me, you, and a good friend of ours lived in our first apartment when we were like 19 years old, and you would come home some nights and you'd be like, "Fuck Israel! I don't know why we support Israel." Like just out of nowhere, you would be very anti-Israel, and then you'd come home like 3 nights later and be like, "Man, like fuck the Palestinians! Like what they're doing, fucking attacking Israel is wrong." And it was just like Docs did a 180 in 3 days. Like, how did this happen? And none of us are talking about Israel. You would come walking in randomly and be
Well,
very,
fuck
very.
both of them. Fuck both of them.
I'm just
I'm all on
saying.
board and fuck both
Yeah.
of
So
them.
if we're talking about people that are easily swayed by the last person they talk to, you are on that list, sir. I hate to
Yeah.
tell you. You're
Mm.
not anymore. You in your 20s was very much on that list.
Yeah, fair enough. I didn't pay
But
attention. I mean, the only time I ever paid attention to any politics was you and Shag mostly.
yeah, we were both like Shag watched Fox News all day long, and like if something was going on, we would both go to Shag to see what was going on. We trusted what he told us.
See, I
Like
thought it was
we
CNN. I thought you guys watched CNN back then.
no, Shag has been a Fox News man since I'm gonna say since he was in roughly eighth grade. I remember being in his living room at a young age and like Bill O'Reilly was on, and like we
Hmm.
trust what Bill O'Reilly says.
Good
So
old Riley, huh?
yeah, so that's if something was happening in the world, I went straight to him for to get his opinion because I thought his opinion was definitely right. And I don't think it was wrong these days, but when I look back now, I'm like, oh, I was getting like a hard right opinion anytime I would ask, but
Oh yeah.
probably why I was a Republican for so long. But
Well,
I,
O'Reilly just turned on Trump pretty hardcore.
I wouldn't say he's turned on Trump. I've heard him on, he goes on News Nation all the time. He's on with Cuomo frequently.
I thought
And
he had
like
his own show on News Nation.
so no, he has, I believe, just a podcast. Maybe it's like a
Oh,
YouTube podcast. I don't watch it, but he's on News Nation all the time. Once a week at least, he's on there.
okay.
And for the past three and a half years, like he'll openly say, like, "Oh yeah, Trump shouldn't have done that." Now he'll also tell you, "But I'm voting for Trump, and here's why." But he's not. He's definitely not kissing Trump's ass anymore. Like if Trump says or does something stupid, he doesn't. So I respect to Bill O'Reilly for that.
Dude.
But real quick on Ukraine, this was Sarah Longwell's thing. She said RFK will bring a certain amount of people to the party, but there's some independents that are going to get turned off by RFK being there and leave. And by her focus group, she thinks it'll be a net loss. Like in sports, like if you have
Yeah.
a player that's trouble in the locker room and you get rid of them, you say that that's addition by subtraction. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, we got rid of him, but we're getting better because of it. And RFK is the inverse of that. Like it's subtraction through addition. It's her argument. I we will not know this for a while. But the one wedge issue that's already come up is he said on stage in Arizona the other day or yesterday that Trump has assured him he's going to end the forever wars, he's going to end the Ukraine war on day one. A lot of Republicans aren't going to like that, and I think there could be there's a portion of the middle that lean right and are open to voting for Trump. And in their head, they were telling themselves, like, no, Trump's not really going to leave Ukraine hanging. And now it's pretty much confirmed. And how many of those people, how many for them is that their single issue where helping Ukraine is a big deal? I could go on and on about why I think we should be defending Ukraine. And I know there's people that don't like that. Um, my best analogy on this is that
Who doesn't like that
uh,
besides Republicans?
the extreme on either side. And man, I need to build like a prop that I can use because I have this whole theory in my head about how the two sides are both shifting. Like certain things that used to be Republican issues are now Democratic issues, and vice versa. People are saying Democrats are the party of war now, where forever it was Republicans. But that's I need to build something to visually explain what I got in my head right now. I'll if we have time tonight, I'll run through that with you. Okay.
Yeah.
I know I should have not even brought it up, but it's I got to figure out how to express it in words because I got it in my head.
Okay.
But here's my analogy for Ukraine. Okay. Joe Rogan, love the guy. I listen to his podcast all the time. I don't agree with him on a lot, but I listen to his podcast. Several times he has said, he's brought up with Trump. He says, man, everybody loved Trump. Rappers loved him. The Democrats loved him. Everybody loved Trump. And then he said he was running for president and everybody turned on him. And he says that all the time. And I hear that from other people like, oh, they loved Trump until he ran for president as a Republican. It's like nobody remembers a like 5 year period of our history. Like everybody loved Trump until about 2009 when Obama won and he started
Yep.
doing the birther thing. And the
Yeah.
birther thing made a lot of people turn on Trump. Like he was going on The View telling people, I've got investigators in Hawaii. They're finding out stuff that you're not going to believe. Like the the first 6 years of Obama, Trump totally just went Republican conspiracy theorist. Obama wasn't born here, birtherism shit. And that's when everybody, and but if you hear people talk about it now, they're like, yeah, everybody loved him until he ran for president.
It's
Or,
pretty racist, right?
well, yeah, the birther
Like
thing is racist, but that's where
it's
it
a very
pisses me off.
racist thing to do.
It pisses me off because with as many times as Joe has said that, I'm thinking somebody has to have brought this up to him. Somebody at some point, somebody told him, "Hey, birtherism." Like, do you not remember that? But he keeps repeating it, which is somebody is
Yeah.
nobody telling him that, or is he knowingly lying to help Trump? And that's my own little side conspiracy thing. But it's like somebody had to have pointed out birtherism. Joe's not dumb. I'm surprised he doesn't know it already. But even if he doesn't, wouldn't somebody have mentioned this?
Well, also Trump was like this kind of like this mogul guy who was a billionaire and he had gold toilets and then he started The Apprentice and so he got a lot of fame doing that. Apparently he made more money doing The Apprentice than he did in anything else in his entire life.
I don't think you
And
can go bankrupt doing a reality show. So yeah, I mean, every
yeah,
other thing he did, he went
exactly.
bankrupt. So it's
Exactly.
bankrupt proof.
And so yeah, he was in all the rap songs and yeah, people kind of looked up to him as like this character, this billionaire character. But then once he started running for president, it came out that he had gone bankrupt 7 times and he really wasn't
Yeah.
that great of a businessman. And
Well,
he kept like fucking over the people he contracted out and trying to, what did he do? He would like he would negotiate after they already did something.
he would say, "No, you didn't do that good a job. I'm only going to pay you 30% of what I originally agreed to. And if you don't
Yeah.
like it, you can sue me. And oh, by the way, I've got lawyers that are make sure that this ends up costing you more." And it always became a thing where they said, "Shit, I guess I got to take the 30% because I will lose my ass in lawyers' fees if I try to go after him."
Yeah.
As remember I was saying last time, that's what he wants to do with our national debt. That's what he was suggesting is that we basically try to negotiate it with China. Um, doesn't work that way. I don't think it works that way. Maybe it does. Maybe it's a genius tactic by him. It might be the only way we ever eliminate the debt is
Has
by
Donald Trump ever
everybody
done
the fuck
anything
up.
genius?
No, that might. I'm giving him a little glimmer of hope. Maybe that was the one thing. But yeah, the Republican, or sorry, the Rogan thing about no, they fucking hated him for 6 years, and then there was a point during that. The clip is hysterical, but where he came to like the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and Obama on stage made fun of Trump, and he
Yeah.
said, there's one thing I'll never, or that I am that you'll never be, and that's president. And like right then, Trump was like, "Oh, I'm." He declared in his head, he declared for president at that moment, and
Yeah.
there's a part of me that really wishes you could go back in time and like grab Obama and be like, "Hey, don't do that one. Like it's gonna fuck up the country for a while. Just don't mention Trump at all tonight because this is where we're at now." But
Yeah.
on that note, I feel the same way about Ukraine, about the whole like, are we all missing a great deal of history here? Like the the people that they call them Putin apologists, and I think that might be a little harsh. There are people that don't want the war to keep going, but they use Russian talking points. And they say, oh, this is all NATO's fault. This is the US's fault. Russia is only defending itself. I mean, look, NATO's creeping up to its border. What do you expect Russia to do? That's kind of their thing. And they often bring up two different treaties that were signed back in the, I think, early 90s. That had NATO said, "Hey, we won't go further east than this. Like, we won't continue to
Right.
expand closer to Russia." Okay, and they did. And that was a treaty. They also signed a treaty. And this is a side note. Signed a treaty with Ukraine, I think, in 1994, where Russia and Ukraine signed because Ukraine had a nuclear bomb. So when the Soviet Union collapsed, there were nukes inside of the Ukraine, and like us and Russia we're both not cool with that. We were like, hey, whoa, 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 we got a brand new country here. We don't know who's going to take over, and they have nukes on missiles that they could fire across the globe. We need to get this under control. So there was like a pact done where Ukraine gave up its nukes, gave them back to Russia, and then in exchange, Russia will never attack Ukraine. That was in 94, I think. Okay. Anyhow, in 99, 2000 ish, Russia invades, I think it was Chechnya first. Chechnya was like 99, 2000. They invade Chechnya, take them over, install a puppet leader government. Um, the whole world just kind of lets that happen. NATO still has not expanded further east, okay, and Russia's now invading former Soviet Union countries. Then a couple of years later, 2006, something like that, I'm probably off by a year or two there. They invade the country of Georgia out of nowhere, and they're basically Putin has said many times that his goal is to rebuild the former Soviet Union. He thinks that's the greatest tragedy ever is that the Soviet Union collapsed.
Let's pause at Georgia. We've got 1 minute left. We'll start back.
Okay, getting back into that. All right,
Hello, back
we're back.
again.
Okay, so you Russia invades Georgia, the country, in like 2006-ish, and then at that point, all the other former Soviet countries, mainly there's three up on the west side of Russia: Latvia, Estonia. I'm forgetting the third one. You got any help there? Latvia,
No,
Estonia.
no
Anyhow,
clue.
I'm gonna kind of look while we're talking here, but they all are freaking out because they're little countries that Russia can just roll right in on, and they are begging, like, please let us into NATO. At the same time, Ukraine starts begging, please let us into NATO. We let the three little countries in because they were defenseless, and we told Ukraine no several times on NATO because we knew
We've
that
been telling them that for decades, right?
even in the show that Zelensky was in, where he played the president on TV,
Yeah.
that was a running joke on the show. Is that like, oh, NATO's on the phone for you, and he'd get all excited and be like, it's NATO, and they'd be like, sorry, we're not going to let you in. And he'd be like, fuck. I think he would say, fuck Putin. Was like what he would. That was like the voice. Um. So yeah, that's just one of those where the people that do the Putin lines where it's, oh, well, what did you expect Russia to do? We were inching closer and closer to them. No, the NATO expansion was a result of them breaking treaties and invading former Soviet Union countries. They did it to Chechnya, they did it to Georgia. They didn't actually invade Belarus. That's when they got sneaky with Belarus, so they started installing like Russians in the country to kind of start forming a revolution and like a fake feeling of like we should join back up with Russia. And they basically did it like a peaceful overthrow of their government and install the loyalist government. So, like I said, Putin's making no secret of this. Like he wants to get the former Soviet Union back together under the umbrella of Russia. And you can't blame them, but all of those countries look at the Western civilization, Europe and America and all that, and then they look at Russia and it's like, no, we want to be in relationships with them. We want Western, all the joys and stuff that goes with that. So you can't,
Yeah.
and like I said,
But they got to change their ways if they're going to do that.
well, and most of them
I
are
do
willing to.
like how Ukraine has like taken this war and now they're just invading Russia. They're like,
Dude, yeah. What's funny is Russia seems like they really don't know what to do about it. Real quick.
yeah, no, it's a great strategy, right?
Okay.
Like you're being invaded and you're getting defeated by Russia. So why not just take a big group of people and just go and start invading their country as well?
It's kind of
Like it's a beautiful strategy.
Ukraine is taking, or sorry, Russia is taking a lot of shit right now, especially Putin for the slow response to this. And then, do you remember a little while ago when there was a Russian, the Wagner group, like they're the
Yeah.
mercenaries, and the head of the Wagner group, I can't remember his name, like started to lead a march into Moscow to like overthrow Putin, and then there was a
Yeah.
peace deal, and then that guy's plane mysteriously blew up in midair, and he's dead now. Well, there's
Yeah.
another like mercenary group, and the leader of them put out a video recently basically saying this is all Putin's fault. We need to get rid of Putin. That guy's still alive for now, but I wouldn't give it long.
Yeah.
And real quick, it was Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania were the three countries that they were begging for protection. And that's apparently
Okay.
Putin really wants to go after them next, but now they are NATO members. And the theory is that he's testing with Ukraine. He's seeing how strong is our resolve really? Like, what are we really going to do to slow them down? So again, I think if you let him just roll right through and take Ukraine, then he's going to move on to the next country. It's just we got to lay down the law, and then also China is watching this very intently. Like
Oh
how
yeah.
far is the U.S. willing to go to protect somebody because they want Taiwan. All of our microchips come from Taiwan. Right now, part of Biden's infrastructure plan was opening these plants that are going to make microchips here, microprocessors. Um,
Right.
but that apparently takes like 7 to 10 years to get those plants up and running. That's not an overnight thing. So we need Ukraine to stay, or not Ukraine, Taiwan to stay neutral for the next 7 to 10 years. And China's not joke. They're not being subtle about it. Like they want to take back over Taiwan. And if we just lay down and let Russia take Ukraine, then China's going to take that as a sign that it's a green light to go get Taiwan. So
Yeah.
everything we're doing there is kind of showing China, hey, don't do it. We're going to fight you on it. And Remember during COVID when we had like was it the microchip shortage or microprocessor or something along those lines? What am I trying to say?
Yeah. Yeah,
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 that like no new cars, like that screwed everything up. So
totally.
yeah, Ukraine is a proxy war, but it's a proxy war for Taiwan right now, and that's what's important.
Well, yeah, I mean, we need to start making microchips here for sure.
And we're like those are in process, it's or progress. It's just a matter of that's going to take a while to get going.
It's like a 10-year process to build those plants or something.
I guess I don't know anything about it. I'm the last guy that should talk about making chips, but that's
Yeah.
where we're at. But
Yeah, we need to be more self-sufficient with some of that stuff.
we do, and that's where like I was reading a cool thing where they were talking about they were listing in order of the most harmful to our economy all the economic policies we know about Trump and Kamala right now, and which one is the most harmful. The most harmful is the tariffs Trump wants to put in, according to economists who are supposed to be looking at this through a neutral eye, just what's going to hurt the economy more.
Yeah.
Tariffs. I don't know why
It
Republicans
makes our businesses pay more money for
it gets passed on to
business
the
purposes.
consumer. I don't know why Republicans are arguing with this. Like
Yeah,
tariffs are a tax on the consumer. Yes, like the company out of China or whatever has to pay that tariff, but where are they getting? They're going to mark up the price to cover that, and then the business here in America is then going to mark the price up to cover that. It always falls to the consumer.
for
So
sure.
that was number one. I think the first two or three were Trump, but then four was the Harris price gouging, or not. They called it price controls, and I really want her to come out soon because there's people that are her surrogates that are coming out saying, no, 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 she never said price control. She's saying we're going to go after price gouging. But everybody's taking this as her saying that we're going to put price controls. So if she doesn't mean that, she needs to come out right away and say no, she wants to strengthen price gouging laws. Don't leave that gray. Like she needs to fix that.
She can't really do much about that. I mean, she can do a little bit, but for the most part, like the price of stuff, like I get the gouging part, right? If somebody's like especially if there's like a hurricane and somebody has lumber and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna raise the price of lumber to, you know, 200% because we have X amount of lumber and everybody's gonna come and grab it." Like, I get that part, but like on a national scale, I don't think you can actually like raise your rates too much in a natural economy because people aren't just not going to buy it. Like you have to be competitive with your neighbor or your competing business, right?
So what happens though, like if lumber, let's say Home Depot, plywood, like hurricanes come in, people board up their house, right?
Yeah,
Okay. So Home Depot and Lowe's is the main place you're going to go get that. I'm just guessing. That's how it is where I live. And without saying it, they both look at each other and kind of wink nod like we're both going up on the price. And that's illegal, but that happens all the time, especially, and I know a little bit about this, that happens in the gasoline industry, like buying
um,
gas. Like when cost starts to go up, it's always whoever the biggest dog. If you live in a market that has 7-Eleven is the biggest, or a racetrack, or Come and Go, or Casey's, or whatever, like they're always the first one where they'll bump it up 20 cents. And then they're watching frantically to make sure that everybody else comes up with them. And if everybody comes
mm,
up with them quickly, then we know, okay, we're all cool. Let's go up another five or another 10. And then everybody comes up. And at some point,
uh,
they go up and nobody else goes up. And then they come back down. And we're all
uh,
agreeing that prices are going to be right about here. And that's what happens when it goes up and when it goes down. I was in this industry, like managers before their shift have like a little route they have to do and write down the gas prices of all the competitors, and like that shit's transmitted to corporate offices, and there's people that study that, and like we're going to try to push the market up today 30 cents or whatever it is, and everybody knows what's going on.
yeah.
The thing is, you can't send an email. Like the head of one company can't send an email to the head of the other and say, hey, how about we raise prices 30 cents today? That's illegal.
But they can go to the other stores and check on the prices and see what's
Yes.
going on.
And that's what happens with price gouging is, Albertsons and Kroger are two grocery stores I grew up with. If they decide bottles of water just went from 4.99 to 10.99, like one of them will do it. And if the other one does it with them, then cool. We're both giving each other a thumbs up without doing it. This is
Mm,
cool. So the
it's
way
kind of
you
fun.
without communism or price controls or anything like that, the way that you normally get away from that is by breaking up monopolies. And that was a Republican thing. It was a Democrat thing. I feel like that is something that both sides need to talk more about because, like, Google and all these countries that keep buying up all their competitors, like when you do that, now you have a fixed market. You got one guy that can control the price of everything because he bought up anybody who would possibly compete with them. We got to have competition. And that's the
Yeah.
Republican in me, like free market, you have to have the competition. The competition drives prices down. Like that's
Yeah.
purely what it does.
The Democrats aren't against that.
They're not, but nobody's talking about it. I would love for one side to talk a lot about that because that, like, it's in every business. Have you ever seen the chart where it shows like the media companies and like all the CNN to like people on YouTube and all that, and they all branch up and are owned by like they're part of one of like seven, basically. Like there's seven
Yeah.
big heads that own everything. And like
Right.
that shouldn't be allowed. Like that's the one reason I say I like a lot of YouTube news is because they're not owned by anybody. And like the ones that
Yeah.
do Patreon only, like they don't have sponsors, like I respect that because I don't have to worry at all about who you're getting your money from or if you're saying something because of who you're getting your money from.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I
Because like CNN is owned by Big Pharma basically, and they'll like cut stuff out. Like they won't say anything bad about pharmaceuticals.
I I
Like they're
disagree with that. I've heard that said by a ton of people. And like, oh,
yeah.
and the theory is like they know, like nobody tells them not to say anything bad about it, but they know because that's who the commercials are. And like
Yeah.
I disagree. I've seen on certain channels there's people that will say that kind of thing and like they don't get fired. Like they'll go against the company line and they're still there the next day.
They can do a little bit, but they really can't talk too much about it because they know where their money's coming from, right?
I don't put as much into that.
I put a little bit into it.
Okay, I don't have any proof one way or another on it, so I can't really
Yeah.
tell you you're wrong. I
Yeah.
just yeah, I firmly don't believe that. But I'll say this. I used to make fun of people, and you, I think I would give you shit because you'd be like, "Man, I don't watch the news on TV. I watch YouTube only." And I was like, "What the like?" It what irritates me, and I still believe this. I used to tell you this, but like certain shows, like what did Breaking Points used to be called? Did it used to be called something else? It was Rising for a while.
No, I think Rising's a different one, but
Okay.
under the same umbrella.
Well, Crystal and Sagar were, I think they were something a couple iterations ago. Like at one point
Yeah, yeah.
they were part of the Hill, I think, for a while. Anyhow, their whole thing was like abandon the mainstream media and come to us. Like we're better than the mainstream media. And my whole thing is like they're not doing any original reporting, like at all. Like they're critiquing the news. Hey, here's what CNN said. Here's why we don't like this. Here's what MSNBC said or Fox News. Here's without them, like we need somebody doing the actual journalism, okay? And
Well,
none of
there's independent journalists. They go with a lot of the independent journalists, but they also critique like Fox News and CNN
most
and
of what we find out on a regular basis is coming from some kind of Wall Street Journal, New York Times. Like there are some good damn reporters at these places that are in the know and breaking stories. Most of the big stories that break one way or another aren't coming from the YouTube guy, okay? Like they're reporting on what the news said.
yeah.
We are too. Me and you,
Yeah.
I watch the news all day long and then I come here and tell you what I saw on the news,
But
okay?
if Fox News and CNN goes away, then they may have more money to support their own internal journalism.
Those same journalists are going to go to other companies. I mean, either way, as long as we're getting real journalists, I'm just saying most of these YouTube news shows don't have journalists. They have people like me and you that are they're better at it than us,
Yeah.
but they watch and read the news. They wake up and they read all the papers, they watch the news, and then they come on and tell you what they think. Without the
Would you consider the Good Liars? Would you consider them journalists?
who's that?
The Good Liars?
I don't watch the Good Liars.
Oh, they're the guys who like go to all the Trump rallies and like interview and
No,
like
I wouldn't consider them journalists. Is it
okay.
funny?
Yeah.
It's not. It's humor. It's like Jordan Klepper on the Daily Show going to his.
Yeah.
I think those are every time a new one of those is out, I get excited and I watch it and I send it to Clint and we laugh about it together. But it's not journalism.
Is it not somewhat journalism? Is Jon Stewart not some part of journalism?
No, Jon Stewart would tell you that he's not a journalist. I think he would say that
I think
100%.
he's saving his own ass on that point, but
Hey, well, John's nobody with the Daily Show is like interviewing people and breaking stories like behind the scenes, like writing articles. That's not happening.
that's what I'm saying is like, yeah, but
They're making fun of
some
the
of these
news.
YouTube people go out to the rallies and they interview people.
Just because you interview people, okay, I'll give you, I guess there's probably a definition thing where we could say, oh, they interviewed somebody, so he's a journalist.
Yeah.
They're not real I'm going to say real journalists. Okay.
Yeah, but
I've
let's
heard
say Tucker
I'll die on
Carlson. Do
this
you
hill.
consider Tucker Carlson a journalist?
I think he was.
Okay.
I think there was a point in time when I think there was a point in time when journalism was a part of his show. I don't know if he
Okay.
was doing it or and like his show was in the know. Like his producers and stuff could call up
Yeah.
somebody under Trump or under whoever and get some inside
I mean,
scoop. So
he interviewed Putin.
he got steamrolled by Putin, in my opinion.
Yeah. But he still
But
got an
yeah,
interview with
Tucker
Putin.
Carlson was breaking news. He was doing yes, Tucker. I'm going to say yes, 100%. He was a journalist. I don't know if he is anymore.
Now what do you call him?
His show now is very much like Rogan. Like he has people on, they have a conversation. He's kind of a Rogan of the right. Rogan is a Rogan of the right, but I don't.
What about Hannity?
Hannity.
I
I
mean,
have to.
all these people are opinion, right? It's mostly opinion. Like
So
Maddow, she's opinion.
yeah,
Hannity's opinion. Like, let's go with what's his name? I mean, a
I
number of
want.
people on
I want to hear you name
CNN.
another one. Name one more.
Good.
You're out. You're out of news
Uh,
people.
what's his name?
All right.
CNN. I mean, the only like journalists are like Wolf Blitzer. Like, there's some people who actually just report the news, but there's very few people that
So
actually report the news, and most of them are opinion pieces, right?
it's all by time slot. Like if you pay attention on all the networks, because I have a thing where I watch Fox and Friends in the morning, and then I normally go back and watch Morning Joe after that. I record it, and like so early morning, you got opinion for the most part. CNN actually tries to put on like the straight news in the morning, and that's why their ratings are the worst.
Mm.
Fox and Friends has really good ratings. It's more,
Opinion.
it's like a Good Morning America of Fox News.
Yeah.
What's his name? Morning Joe. Like I enjoy listening to Morning Joe, and
Opinion.
every now and then he'll have some people on to break some stuff, but he's not the journalist. Okay.
He's opinion.
Now,
Yeah.
as soon as the morning shows are over, you run into like America's Newsroom on Fox with I can't remember the guy's name right now. Sometimes it's Martha McCallan. Like all the way through the afternoon, it's pretty much news on every channel. Like CNN has Wolf Blitzer and Jake Tapper.
So when everybody's at work and nobody's paying attention, they actually do the
But
news.
nobody's watching.
When
Yeah.
people are off work, they do
As
all
soon
opinion.
as soon as 5 o'clock hits, Fox rolls to the five. And I don't think anybody's going to argue that the five is anything other than an opinion show. CNN sticks with news a little bit longer. But all three, when it gets to the evening, all three, like, I don't think Joy Reid is actually on MSNBC anymore. But like Joy Reid and Maddow and, oh man, I'm going to forget the other guy's name on MSNBC. MSNBC, I watch the least. CNN, I'm going to go back to their lineup previously. But they had Anderson Cooper, who I very much like Anderson Cooper, but
I'll say Anderson Cooper's a journalist. Yeah,
he was a journalist. He broke some stories. He went to like Cambodia and did some back in the day.
he's still going to wars, isn't he?
Yeah, he ends up always in like
Yeah,
the hurricane zone or whatever.
yeah.
But I would say his show is an opinion show. Chris Cuomo, who I watch him on News Nation all the time now. I think he's good. Um,
Opinion.
he's opinion. But
Yeah.
then when you get to the 9 o'clock hour,
Don Lemon. Don
so there we
Lemon.
go. Hold on. The 9 o'clock hour on each network is where it shit gets like there's a noticeable jump from like this is opinion to like this is stupid opinion now, and all three of them do it. CNN had Don Lemon, and I would watch Don Lemon, but it's one of those where in your head you don't even have to tell yourself because it becomes really clear right away that this is you're hearing
Yeah, he
opinion
lost me when
now.
he started crying on
Yeah.
air.
So what happened was Fox Tucker used to be the Don Lemon hour, and then as they would lose people, like as they lost Bill O'Reilly, they would shift everybody down a slot. So like the crazier people kept getting shifted from 9 o'clock
Hmm.
to 8 to 7, and now you got like Jesse Waters hosting I think Jesse Waters is hosting what used to be the Tucker hour. Um, but
That guy's mother hates him.
she doesn't hate him. She's
Jesse's
just a lefty.
mother doesn't even like him.
She's just a lefty, and I think she loves her
I
son.
don't think she likes him.
Okay,
She's
it'd be
worried about him.
it'd be hard to love some of these people. Jesse Waters is one of those people.
She's definitely worried about him.
Yeah, I think she. I'd love it if he would like put her on speakerphone sometime and let us hear like her yelling at him about the shit he says. But the thing is, the shit that he says isn't any worse than the shit that Don Lemon said. Like what you have to make it really clear, and I think that all the news stations should have to have like a disclaimer at the bottom that like you are now watching opinion programming. Like this is not the
I'll go with
news.
that.
Like it should say it like a bar across the bottom because too many
Yeah,
people are
in
like,
big letters. It has to be like a third of the screen. Opinion.
what? people that watch Fox News, I know several people like this that are like, yeah, I like most of the shows on Fox, but I don't watch during the middle of the day. It's a lot of liberal people on. And it's like, no, it's a lot of people telling you the truth about what's going on, and you refuse to believe that. But you'll listen to Fox and Friends, and then you'll listen to the five all the way through Gutfeld.
Oh
But during
God,
the
it
middle
was
of the
horrible.
day, and like Shep Smith back in the day, Shep Smith was a gay Republican that was on Fox. And like they were always like, he's so nasty and hard on Trump. And it's like, no, he's just telling you what Trump did today. Like he's giving you the real, here's the shit that happened today. And like they ran
So,
him out of Fox for it.
so going back to the fourth day of the convention or the convention overall, like you said
Okay.
that Fox News would just not play when a Republican was speaking.
So yeah,
What did
because
they cut to?
they cut to the panel. Like, and even like on CNN and MSNBC, they didn't cover every speaker. Like there were certain
Okay.
speakers that came out and they were like, ah, this is boring, and they would bring it in and they'd have their panel discussing.
Okay.
So everybody did that. Fox, notably, every night, smart move by the Democrats, but every night they had a different like elected official that was a Republican come on and make the case for why voting for Harris is the right thing to do this time. And
Yeah.
they did it late in the show. Like even the last night, I don't think it was Ken, I can't remember who did it the last night. But it was like two speakers before Kamala. Like they put it in a spot where you really kind of had to show it. And every
Yeah.
time Fox News cut away at that point and made no mention, they didn't even say like, "Oh yeah, Adam Kinzinger's on stage right now." They just if you only watch Fox News, you have no clue that Kinzinger, Jeff Duncan. I wish I could remember who else was there. They had at least one every night. Um,
Yeah.
so irritating, but that's to me, that's what Fox does best is they lie through omission.
Yeah.
They just leave a lot. Like you've told me before that you'll tell your dad like, "Hey, did you see that Trump said blah blah blah?" And you're like, he's correct me if I'm wrong, but he's like, "What? That never happened. If you saw
Yeah.
that, that's AI." Like that must
AI.
have been AI because it didn't happen. And it's like, no, it 100% happened. You're never gonna see it if you only
Yeah.
watch right wing media. Like they're very
And both sides do it, but Fox does it a lot,
so
especially with Trump because they have to, right? If they're gonna promote Trump as much as they do, they have to admit a lot of stuff because
they
he's
do.
just so off the wall crazy.
I'll say this. This will be the most unpopular thing I say. Nobody will agree with me on this, but this is one where I feel like I want to go to bat and I would die on this hill. Um, I watch all the stations. I have a lot of respect for CNN. Nobody likes CNN. And let me say this first. The reason nobody likes CNN and their ratings are the worst is because we have tribalism. That's our biggest problem. And like the far left only wants to hear stuff that is soothing to their ears. They want you to tell them how evil Trump is all day long, and they want to tell you how good the Democrats are. The right is the same way, but in reverse. They don't want to. CNN will have on a Republican to defend Trump, and then a Democrat to do the counter, and then and they go back. And I'm a liberal. Sorry. No. But no. CNN. If you watch CNN, if Biden does something stupid, like back, even 2 years ago, when people are like, "Oh, they were trying to hide the fact that Biden was in decline," like anything Biden did that they didn't like, they were talking about it. Now, you can make the argument that if it was Anderson Cooper talking about it, he was talking about it, but he was probably kind of helping the. If it was a split panel, two Democrats and two Republicans, it was actually 3-on-2 because Anderson was kind of on the team with the two Democrats. You can totally say that.
Sure.
But both sides got out there and you know what's going on. I saw a study last week. I want to try to find it, like link it under this video on YouTube. But it
Okay.
said people that only watch Fox News are less informed than people that don't watch any news. And that was like an official,
Oh.
like a college did that study.
Oh.
Yeah, if you only watch Fox News, you're less informed than someone who doesn't watch the news.
Yes, link that. Link that in the
I'll
description
find that
below.
and we'll put that on this because it was an hysterical thing to read and it was serious. It wasn't a
So if you
joke.
only watch Fox News, you are less educated
Less
than
informed
people who don't watch
as to
any
what's really
news.
going on. All you know is that there's a caravan coming. There's a caravan coming for the southern border, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But no, and that so real quick,
That's sad.
liberals watch CNN and they start to hear people defending Trump and they get mad and they go, why isn't Wolf Blitzer shutting him down? Why is he letting him say this? Blah, 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 blah. And then the right watches it and they're like, oh, there's people just bashing on Trump. I hate this. So if you're stuck in the tribalism thing and you're far left or far right, you don't like to hear CNN because at some point you're going to hear bad shit about your guy and they don't want to
Yeah.
hear that. So it's only people that are in the middle and are willing to hear bad things about everybody that would watch CNN. Here's the kicker. people like that, people that aren't in love with one side or the other, don't watch the news. They're the everyday people that are out there living their life, not paying attention to the news. If you
Yeah.
don't care strongly about one of these two people, you're watching a lot of things, not the news, like just
Yeah.
in general. So if you feel very strongly that Donald Trump is being wronged and he's the best president ever, like you are turning on Fox News and turning it on every night. And if you
Yeah.
feel the opposite, you're turning on MSNBC, and that's how the ratings go. And it sucks because
Yeah.
CNN could have better ratings if they just picked far left or far right and went there. They would have more people willing to listen.
It's almost like Fox News like creates your opinion, creates these people's opinion, and then reinforces their opinion so that they keep watching it.
It's
Because
confirmation
everybody wants their
bias.
opinion to be reinforced, right?
Yeah,
You want, like, if you have an opinion about something, you want your opinion, you want to tell your buddy about it, and them go, "Yeah, that's right." Uh, you don't want them to disagree with you.
do you
And
know what
Fox News just continues to do that. They like form this opinion, and then they reinforce that opinion night after night after night.
have you know what confirmation bias is? Have you heard people talk about this?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, confirmation bias. Like people like to hear something that confirms what they already believe. So
yep.
if you already feel that way and you turn on Fox and they're telling you the things that make you go, yeah, I was right about this.
But they got their belief from Fox to begin with. That's
Well,
the
and that they call that the right wing. What do they call it? The right wing feedback.
echo chamber.
No, it's called like the feedback loop or the info loop, right?
Oh yeah,
It was funny because it was like they kind of showed how it worked in reality a couple times, and it'd be like Trump says, you know, a lot of people are saying blah blah blah, and then Fox News reports, hey, Trump said that a lot of people are saying blah blah, and like and then 2 days later, Trump's going, hey, I got an article right here from Fox News where they're saying that people are saying blah blah, you know, that same thing. And it's like, no, you're the one that said it, and it worked its way around, and now you're holding up an article showing that the news is talking about this thing that you just made
yeah.
up, and that
Oh
happens
yeah, yeah.
on numerous occasions, but he knows how to work the media, and what he had going with Fox and their little information loop was very good. It worked. Like if you knew somebody that
Oh,
only
big
watched
time.
Fox, like your dad is a great example, probably fully believed it, and you want to keep listening. That's the thing they learn for ratings. Like the people that like are confirmation bias, they're getting confirmation of everything they already think they know. Like they're
Yeah.
going to keep listening. This feels good. It's giving you like a like oxytocin or something, a release in
Right.
the brain
Right.
that
Because you're going,
feels
I
good.
was right. I was right about
Yeah.
this. Fox News
And
is telling me I was right about this, even though they put it in my brain to begin with, and now they're telling me I'm right about it again.
people don't like to find out that they're wrong or to even have some doubt come into their brain that they might be wrong. And when they start to hear it and it starts to make them kind of question, maybe I am wrong, they turn it off or they turn the channel right away. It's not soothing. It doesn't feel good. I don't like the way it makes me feel. Like it's very comical. And I, somebody asked me one time, and it was hysterical, that it was two people I know really well, and they were like, "Oh, you still listen to Joe Rogan?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they were like, "You don't agree with what he's allowed, or you don't agree with everything he says, though." And I said, "Yeah, I don't agree with like half, more than half of what he says." And they were like, "Well, why do you listen?" And like, it didn't really go much farther than that. But in my head, I was like, it doesn't make sense to them that I would listen to somebody that I don't 100% agree with. Like,
No, it does.
I don't think so. I think that they were perplexed that I would listen to
Oh,
somebody.
they were. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they couldn't fathom that. And I think
Yeah.
that's where so many people are these days. Like if you start to hear something that makes you think you might have been wrong, oh, get it out of here right now. I'm done.
It does. It makes you hard. But when I listen to like Fox or not Fox, but right-wing radio, like
Mhm.
every once in a like most of it's like for me, just I kind of laugh. I'm just like, oh my God, these people are crazy. And it just kind of gives me this like little warm feeling inside just to know that there's like these wild people out there that are just making shit up.
But
But every once in a while they hit on a point, and I'm just like, that kind of sounds legit. Like I have to go and like look that up a little bit.
there's still stuff that the Republicans will do that I'll go, oh, I prefer that line of thought to what the Democrats are doing. Or there's stuff the Democrats will do that I'm just like, that's stupid. Like it's moronic. And I agree with the right on this. And it can
Yeah, like
totally
Marjorie Taylor
happen.
Greene. We just
Yeah.
agree with her completely.
Yeah, but I don't think a lot of people would do that. And even if they started to go down that road in their brain of like maybe my side's wrong about this, they'll distract themselves and go somewhere else as opposed to following that through to really think, oh shit, I was wrong. Like now let's just move on. We're not going to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
Let
that's
me
a big
just get
problem.
back into my echo chamber and
Yeah. Go where it's
pull
everything
it.
I hear is going to make me feel good. And that's
Yeah.
I feel like it should be mandatory that you like, there's no way to do it, but I wish people would have to watch a little bit of the other side just to get an idea of, maybe you're missing out on a lot, or maybe you're only hearing, the same thing over and over.
Yeah, well, it's like we watched the DNC. I didn't really watch it, but I watched a lot of clips of it.
Mhm.
So I know what was going on, and it seemed pretty magical and amazing. Like you said, it's going to change the way that everybody's going to do their conventions from now on.
Yeah.
But you listen to the right wing, and they have nothing good to say about it. She's a liar. They went way too far and made it too much of a spectacle. It was like a circus, and it's like, oh, this like,
One of,
yeah,
one of
I'm
the
not
things
wrong.
One of the things that Kennedy said on stage was he said that I'll mess the numbers up, but he said then the name Trump, the word Trump was said at the DNC like 400 and something times, like 135 times just in the 2 nights alone. Like they just kept
Okay.
talking about Trump. The name Kamala Harris or Biden, I can't remember which one they said, was only said twice during the Republican convention. And the argument is that means the Republicans were talking policy and their ideas and not attacking the other side. And the Democrats only attacked Trump. And here's the thing, that number might be right, but I
So,
watched every minute of the RNC, the Republicans, and the whole thing was the Democrats are trying to do this or the left is trying to do this. And okay,
yeah,
okay, maybe a technicality here. Maybe they didn't say the name Biden or say the name Harris, whatever one it was. But the
yeah.
whole thing was the left is trying to destroy America. I watched all 4 nights of it. Like that was the speech. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, so
the liberals are ruining this and the liberals are going to do that
yes.
and it's going to destroy our country and the only way to save it is our powerful Donald Trump. Let's vote for him.
One thing I keep seeing is people are saying, like, yeah, Kamala probably needs to release more policy, but at the same time, why the double standard? Like, we don't know Trump's policy on almost anything. Like, he's put out
Nothing.
like a 20 point, it's like 20 promises that he's going to do or something along those lines.
Yeah.
But they're all like, I'm going to make inflation better. Okay, how? Like, you got it. So at this point, everybody's talking about why Kamala doesn't give more details. And it's like, I think she should 100%.
She's
But
going to. She's coming out with something this week, right?
okay, supposedly she is. I
Yeah.
want to see it. But why aren't we also talking about Trump not coming out with any of these details? Like I think they
Well,
should both have to put. I think that should be a standard requirement if you're running for offices. There should be like a deadline that you have to submit like a packet
I
that shows like that. I don't know how they can make
like
it
it. It
happen, but
has to go on your website. It should have to go on your website so that people can visit and you can see exactly where you stand on an issue and how you're going to actually fix the problem. Like,
what's that is they never used to have to do that because up until 2020, they just did it. Like you didn't have to worry about it because it was called their platform, and both sides were gonna have their platform up. And normally the full platform came up right after the convention. And at the convention, back in the day, the convention was the whole party's getting together, and while we're here, there's meetings all day long, and we're figuring out what our platform is, and things are getting negotiated, and you agree on your platform at the convention. That's where it gets finalized. Okay. In 2016, supposedly Trump was trying to weaken our assistance to Ukraine at the convention, and that was Paul Manafort, who is his campaign manager, that also had
oh
worked for
yeah, yeah.
him. That was the whole thing. But in 2020 was the first time ever where Trump they just didn't put out a platform in 2020. They said our platform is whatever Trump says. Like that's what they just didn't do it. And nobody had ever thought like you have to do it, don't you? Well, there's not a rule. Like what's the punishment if you don't do it? There isn't
Right.
one. So Trump just didn't do it in 2020. And then this year he did a little bit more where he put out his 20 promises, but no further detail. And it's like, okay, well, does Kamala have to do it then? If Trump's not going to do it, and I think the answer is they should both have to do it. But I also
Yeah.
think it's odd that everybody's focusing because I think with Kamala, you expect that the Democrats would. The Democrats have their
Yeah.
shit together. They're going to come out
Yeah. They have their shit together. They're going to do it. And
with
like they
Trump.
don't
It's like,
have to do it, but it's smart of them to do it so that
yeah,
and they can go, hey, we have it's all right here. Like, look at this.
mm.
Where's yours, Trump? Where's your plan? He's like,
The thing
oh,
is,
I've got these 20 bullet points.
yeah, Trump not coming out with a platform is not going to hurt him with a single one of his voters. If you're voting for Trump, there's no situation where a Trump voter is not going to say, he still hasn't come out with a platform. I'm going to stay home or I'm going to
Yeah,
no.
but
They're voting for Trump.
those Trump voters are dwindling. This is my opinion. I think those Trump voters are dwindling fast. I think
So
he is losing support, and it's a part of the reason is because he doesn't put out a platform. He doesn't really have any talking points. He's on stage rambling and kooky. He's calling into Fox News and Gutfeld and like rambling about whatever, and I think he's losing people fast.
So
I don't think that the polling is right now. I don't think the 50-50 race is right. I think Kamala has this thing in the bag, dude. There's no way that Trump can have a blowout, but I would not be surprised if Kamala gets the majority of the swing states.
we'll see. Well, we got less than 5 minutes left, but I will say this. I've been trying to follow all the polls, which is hard to do. There's so many polls, and it's hard to figure out what poll is a real poll. And like Elon Musk put a Twitter poll up the other day, and Trump won like 78% of the vote. But that's clearly it's an Elon
Yeah.
Musk poll. But I'm trying to watch the polling, and I actually found three different accounts where they're tracking voter registration by state. How many
Uh-huh.
Democrats are registering to vote, how many Republicans are. And in all
Okay.
the swing states, the Democrats are registering way more people than Republicans. As
Yeah.
voters die of old age, you got to replace them with the youth. And like the youth
COVID.
used to be like 30 to 40-year-olds because 18 to 30-year-olds didn't really vote. And recently, especially because of Trump, the young people are coming out to vote. Right now, the Democrats are up big in voter registration in the swing states, but I still like that's to me that metric's more important than the polling. Like what new voters are jumping into this, and if
Yeah.
more Democrats are jumping in than Republicans, that does look good. However, I don't think there's any way this is going to be a blowout, and you can say it all day long. I think that there's still a really good shot Trump wins. Like I think it's 50-50. Like I truly I need to see the polling after a week and a half from now when the RFK polling comes out. We're going to see that number is going to get locked in for about 6 days. And then
Okay.
we're going to have our first debate. Okay.
Yeah.
Out of that first debate, I think both debates will go about the same. I don't think there'll be like a swing between the two debates. So about a week after that first debate, we're going to see what I think is going to be kind of the final polling. It's not going to move
Yeah.
a lot after that. Okay. And it might, you could say it's inaccurate, but it's not going to move a lot after that. So whatever it says a week from now with RFK, cool. That's going to change after the debate. Okay. After the debate, that number is going to get pretty, I'm not going to say solid, but it's not going to move a lot. Like from then till the election, that's it.
Are you more excited about Trump Harris debate or the vice presidential debate?
Trump Harris. I think the VP debate will not be as entertaining at all. I think if it was somebody like Pete against JD Vance, I would be ready to get some popcorn. I think Waltz and JD will do a real good job of talking about policy, like
Yeah.
way better
I'm
than
more excited about that one than
yeah. I don't think it'll be entertaining. By modern debate standards, I don't think it'll be like a lot of highlights. I think it'll be substantive.
I
Substantive.
don't think the Trump Harris debate is going to be that entertaining because Trump's just going to be his kooky self and Harris is going to try and talk about policy.
I
And
Biden wasn't good because Biden was expecting the moderators to fact check Trump on the spot if he lied.
mm,
And the moderators have in my opinion, correctly said, no, if you want to fact check him, you do it. We're asking questions. We're not here to fact
yeah,
check.
yeah. And
And
Biden
Biden,
wasn't quick enough to fact check
he
Trump.
wasn't capable of it at all.
Yeah.
If Kamala can give a quick fact check, hey, what you just said is wrong, and here's the numbers why, and then pivot right away to, and here's what I'm going to do. If she can hit
Yeah.
that balance of quick fact check, don't get drugged down and we're arguing about who's that. Trump wins that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to
Quick,
lock you up. You're a criminal.
yeah.
Like
Quick
maybe throw
fact
that in
check,
every once in a
move
while,
on.
but yeah.
Yeah, that's what she needs. So, anyhow, we're down to a minute. So,
All right, brother.
yes, have a good night, and I'll talk to you here in a day or two.
Peace out.
All right, later, ready. Bye.